Hey, welcome to Horns Up. I'm Animesh.
And in case you forgot, I'm Peter.
Oh my god, this has been a long time coming, hasn't it?
Yeah, I have to say this first because I've been dying to say this since we decided to actually set the date and time to record this. Happy 5-year anniversary of doing this,
Fuck,
Animesh.
it's been 5 years?
Yeah.
And just like a 5-year slump, the 5th year it's become really tough for us to do this.
Yeah.
Right?
So my wife, Karen, joked that, oh, now it's your annual thing to do. And I'm like, wait, how many years have we been doing this? And I'm like, wow. Like since 2018.
Shit. Back when podcasting wasn't that popular.
Yeah. And so the thing is, I don't know. And let's get this out of the way, right? I struggled that first year, I remember, to put together the list because I was like, oh my God. And I remember you being like, yeah, you need to rank this. You need to do this. And I was like, yeah, but it's subjective. And look at me this year.
Now you're like a seasoned veteran. You've done more homework.
Yeah.
How's the year been for you, man, Peter? We haven't really caught up a lot this year. We've both been really busy with our individual lives and professional lives.
Yeah.
But on the metal front, how's the year been for you?
So I keep tiring of saying this, but I think each year I've spent more and more time listening to music. And I think this year I've just lost track, honestly. Like it was relatively easy because I think at this point, like I've also kind of know like what kind of music I really want to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I probably have not listened to, I think, 10% of everything that's released. But
yeah,
from like what's come in my inbox, what stuff I've really enjoyed. And then at this point, I'm just like, do I want to be spending my time listening to other stuff? Like that's what my thing is, right? And it's all over the board. Like I wish I could say it was, because I've had those phases where it's more like death metal, black metal. But this year it's just been like all over the board. And strangely enough, like I've listened to a lot of like non-metal also.
Okay.
I mean, like, to be honest, I went through phases where I didn't listen to music at all.
Oh, music at all? Not
Yeah.
even like non-metal stuff?
Not metal. I just went through those phases also. So it's like, yeah, it's been that kind of year, honestly.
Okay.
What about you?
It's been a non-traditional year in that sense. I think I've heard more music than I did last year, but the difference is this year I listened to a lot of stuff, but I only ended up revisiting one particular set of albums. And I mean, those are the ones that I've chosen for my top 10. There's so much, and this is such an old man sitting on a black porch kind of a saying, but there's so much generic bullshit out there that it made me rethink the process of discovering new music.
I don't think for us, and I'm like generalizing here because you said old man sitting on a back porch, I don't think that thing ever changes, right? Like we're still those guys who discover music. Like I, to a certain extent, have become lazy because I'm like, okay, if you've not emailed me, then I don't want to check out.
Okay.
And then like suddenly the week I'll be like, what? And there are a few albums I'll talk about, right? Where it showed up in my inbox like the week or 10 days before release. And I'm like, wait, there's an album coming out? Like you can't be sending out stuff like that, right? Or surprise releases. I mean, like, guys, we're in 2023. Like, there's so much choice if you don't
promote stuff.
No, and it's harder. Like, I'm not going to say it's, the streaming's fault or whatever have you, right? It's just the way the things are and the way that people are listening to music.
Okay, I mean, so how are you discovering music on a day-to-day basis this year? How did you discover most of what you heard? It's because people email you.
Mostly. I've become that guy.
Like, you become that guy. That's awesome. For me, this year, surprisingly, I don't think I've tuned in to a lot of my usual editorial people that I used to rely on. Like I think I barely visited Invisible Oranges. I barely visited which was that site that began with H. Heavy blog is heavy. I barely visited No Clean Singing.
Yeah.
Metal Sucks maybe once or twice in the whole year. Banger TV, like haven't really watched a lot of their content, kept a tab because the algorithm keeps referring their content to me. So for me, discovering new music was literally going to the metal genre on Apple Music and seeing which are the new releases and just adding those albums that I really wanted to listen to. So
Yeah, and I think for me personally, it's also reached a stage, and this is humble brag if I may, nothing else, is now I'm on the same list as these guys, right?
yeah,
That we're talking about. I have access to the same music. So at certain points, I'm like, okay, why is these albums being promoted? And at the end of the day, I've realized that if we have a platform like Honzup or stuff like that, I want to use it to talk about music I really enjoy.
yeah,
Not
exactly.
to get the views
That's what this
or
is.
whatever. Yeah.
Exactly, that's what this is. And like so much of even just the reviews and the kind of music that's being plugged on sites, everything is just so like banal, for the lack of a better word. Fuck me, this is going off into a weird rants already. I'm we,
But wait.
we really don't mean like none of this should be taken with any malice. Disclaimer.
Yeah.
It's just rants.
So wait. So okay. So I have to like get this out of the way, right? You also, because this is a strange year, because I say it, because the Riot Peddlers put out new music.
Yeah, for the Riot Peddlers, this year has been topsy-turvy, fucking awesome. Like,
But how does that impact? And I don't think we've ever talked about this. Is how does that impact your consumption of music or things like that?
it really doesn't alter my consumption of music at all as such. It's just that when I know I have to do something with the band, then I make sure to listen and make sure to get into that mind space, which for me is a process of listening to a few select artists, etc. over and again to pump myself up for whatever it is we do, whether it is to record, whether it is to listen for reference, or whether it is to eventually practice songs, etc. on to perform. So I go into that mind space pretty easily. You spoke about releasing music as a surprise and why that shouldn't be the case, and I think learned it the hard way this year.
Yeah.
Completely. Like no one gave a fuck about the stuff that we released, and that's fine. But I think this was our best release till date.
I'm gonna
there's
say
a
my
lot of
comments
effort. Yeah, a lot of effort, etc. put in, and that was cool. But yeah, we ended the year on a high. I mean, this is humble brag at its finest, but the Riot Peddlers did play the Orange Festival in Dambuk, opening for a band called POD, which I learned on the day of watching them are a Christian new metal band. And I was like, and that is something that's going to stay with me for a long time, because it completely, completely, like ever since that day, I've been listening to the greatest hits album of POD, and now I'm beginning to see why they are so big, because damn, this is fuck shit up music, but for Adarsh Balaks.
Yeah. And it's so funny when you messaged saying that, because I actually was listening to POD back in 2001 only because they were Christian.
The only song I'd heard of, like the only song I'd actually heard and knew was from POD proper was, again, wrestling reference, Booyaka Booyaka 619, because that used to be the theme song for Rey Mysterio. Other than that, I had no clue about what POD sound was.
Yeah.
And they were fucking awesome to watch.
No, so the reason and just to kind of add some context why I asked is because as a creative person, and that's where I was trying to tap in, right? Is there's a certain time where you're just so saturated, right?
Yeah. I think that's what happened to me this year. With that's a very good point. Yeah, saturation level of creativity and just of the work and professional life was pretty much at an all-time high. I traveled a lot in this year. I've been traveling like a madman, and not all of it, like only maybe 1% of it had to do with music as such. And when you're doing all of that so much, you're just looking for things that make you feel at home,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
And exactly, right? I mean, like, also when I talked about just going through spaces where I didn't want to listen to music, is because at that moment I just wanted silence. Like, I didn't want nothing I could connect with, or I thought could connect with, right? So I totally get that sentiment that you're talking about, right?
Okay, cool. So that's a nice sentiment. I think that sets up the context of the kind of choices we made for this year's edition of the albums we like. I even forgot what we used to call this. Music on Our Mind, albums of the year 2023. Picks of 2023. Yes, that. So what all are we doing? I've got a list of honorable mentions. You've got a list of honorable mentions. We both have some non-metal albums that we like to talk about, go through. Yours is ranked. I'm very proud of you. Mine is just a list because I haven't ranked them. I've got a very minute cross section of EPs of the year that I've been spinning, and naturally that has an agenda to it, which I'm pretty sure is very clear by now. and then of course we'll do our top 10, but this time because we haven't done a lot of podcasts this year, and podcasting itself and catching up between the two of us has been so little, I think let's not do it the way we've been doing it. Let's just do your top 10 and my top 10, in reverse order. And then we can like dissect each other's picks in that way, or just think of it in that way. Okay, since we were talking about live music at some point in time, let's begin with live music. You've attended more than a handful of gigs this year.
Yeah.
You're like, you've been to 2 music festivals, if not more, 3.
Yeah.
I've been to 2, like excluding like the common ones are Lollapalooza. No, sorry. The common one being only Independence Rock, I Rock. That is a music festival, and it's a legit music festival now. I went for Lola, you went for NH7. From all the gigs you saw, anything really memorable?
So, strangely enough, so this year also marked the first time I finally got to travel in 3 years.
Fantastic.
So, of course, I had to club it with a gig. So, I, to a certain extent, orchestrated a trip to Paris just when Kill Everything Now
Ken Mode and Fong
were playing in
I'm
Paris.
so envious of you for that, and I'm also like so happy for you that you managed to do that.
Dude, it was so cool because, I mean, I'm going to definitely talk about it more. But the fact is, first, you're seeing a band that you really enjoy.
Yeah.
The second being, you're seeing it in an environment which is totally alien to you, right? I mean, long story short, put 100 odd metalheads from different countries or wherever, you end up being friends. You end up talking, exchanging contact details with people and saying, oh my God, like you actually know Ken Mode and stuff like that. So, and then also meeting Jesse after all these years.
After all our chats, etc.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That was cool.
Yeah. But fuck, dude, like Fanj and Ken Mode, I don't think anything can prep you for that, like, kind of.
How fuck were your ears?
Dude, trust me. So, this I must add, which would, I think, probably never fly in India. But in Paris at this venue, they had a decibelometer. So you could actually see
how loud it was.
Yeah. And
like, do you break the scales?
Dude, Ken Mode were actually louder than Fanj.
Wow.
Yeah. And also, again, this is going back to Europe and watching gigs. Dude, in France, no one like mosh pits.
Really?
Yeah, to fucking Ken Mode. Then finally, like, towards the middle, someone started a very mini pit of sorts. And I was like, wow, this feels like weird. Because in Bombay, like, first, I don't know, breakdown of sorts and there'd be a mosh pit.
Yeah, mosh pit and BCMC.
Yeah, so it was very interesting just to compare notes on gigs there. And yeah, man, fuck. It was like just so awesome to
Okay.
attend that show.
Okay. I guess my big live highlight of the year, and I've attended far fewer gigs than you have this year. Um, on the metal side, I guess it would be the Girish and the Chronicles set at iRock.
Yeah.
That was fuck. He's so good. Like the band is so good.
I think
So
like
good.
standing
So
next to you
good.
and just like exchanging like jaw-dropping moments was just,
Oh yeah. That was so good. Won the crowd over completely. Superb. But overall, in terms of and this was a common experience. I think the best gig, hands down, was the Shakti gig that we saw at earlier this year in like NCPA Dome. Wow, that was magical.
NSA Dome.
NSCI Dome. Yeah,
Yeah. What a fucking
that was magical. Yeah.
I mean, so the thing is, few years ago, John McLaughlin came down
yes.
and he played 2 separate nights
Yeah.
at the Royal Opera House,
Yeah.
and he played one night Birds of Fire, and that's easily one of my favorite albums in general, right?
Uh-huh.
So seeing that, I don't think like I never thought it could be topped, and then I saw Shakti, and I was just like,
Yeah.
"Fuck, dude!" Like that was it's one of those things where it's an experience. There's
It's
no
an
other
experience.
way.
You had to be there. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was awesome.
yeah.
Cool. So I think, wow, we at least we have something in common. Yay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So let's because we've just spoken about Shakti, let's get into the non-metal lists, right? You've got a rank, so let's have at it, Peter.
Okay.
How many albums have you listed?
10.
Oh my God! Wow.
Yeah.
Take us through them.
So, common one to start off with, which I already spoke in the media picks, Zora and Miranda, Time for Two. You know, again, like it kind of talks about what you're saying, right? Like that comfort, sounds that you kind of know, 80s synth pop of sorts. Similarly, in that, number 9 is Blush, Super Crush. This is an alternative pop shoegaze act from Singapore. You will actually know a member of this band, Nicholas Wong from Marijana, actually plays drums on it.
Super.
And it's a very nice,
I'm going to check this
beautiful
out.
thing.
Cool. Thank you.
Number 8 is Dreamer. Now
Oh,
that
I've
we are
got Dreamer
here.
on my non-metal
That
list
was
too.
so fucking good.
Yeah,
And like,
it's one of the albums that I could put on while I'm working.
yeah.
Right?
And like I've been following Debo for a while now,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, I really enjoyed this album. Switching up the sound a bit at 7 is Ankur Tiwari with Akela. And
Okay.
he's someone like most people would know from mainstream stuff. Like he did the programming, what do you call it, for Gully Boy. Like he put
Okay.
together the entire thing for Gully Boy,
Okay.
Archie's the latest
Uh-huh.
Netflix movie and stuff like that.
Yes, yeah. Suno is by him. Yeah. Now I made the connection. Sorry, I couldn't identify the
Yeah.
voice, and now when you said it, immediately it. Yeah.
But the thing is, like, he's
Clicks.
typically known to be a singer-songwriter, but
Yeah.
on this, he's kind of got like this whole ambient sound and stuff like that. And
okay.
it's like his Hindi stuff, but I really enjoyed like what he did with that. Heavier relatively at number 6 is Bad Wolves, Die About It. And the reason I have this in the non-metal is because it's your hooky, catchy, slick production pop metal.
Okay.
This is the guitarist of God Forbid, his band. And basically, this is their first album with their singer DL. And I think this is like really strong stuff that they've got. At number 5 is actually someone you know, and I think might be on your list. I'm not sure. I've got it again in non-metal because there's no like distortion on it. It's Pliny Mirage.
Okay.
And like, to me, honestly, the only
I
one
didn't
word,
listen to it.
the only one word I'll describe this EP as is feels,
Okay, cool.
because it's all that in there.
I chose not to listen to it. I don't feel like work. But maybe because you said feels, I should listen to it.
Yeah. Number 4 is Bryden Path with Chameleon World. Bryden's actually the guitarist for the band Slain.
Okay.
from back in the day, and he later performed with the Raghu Dikshit project, and that's where he met Path, who's the flutist. So they put together this pop rock album, which got like again mainstream singers, Benny Dayal and stuff like that. So it's
Sweet.
a mix of like
Yeah.
multiple languages that I really enjoyed. Number 3, and this is only in the non-metal because there's Trapped and
Okay.
because there's trap and there's heavy bass and clean vocals. This is an act led by someone called Vessel,
Okay.
because we don't know who the rest of them are. This is Sleep Token. Take Me Back to Eden. I mean, dude, this album is at 3. This would have actually been much higher, but there are a couple of albums which rank. Please don't tell me
No,
you
no,
have
no,
it
no.
in
I'm
metal.
not doing the. Yeah. You know my standard reaction to Sleep Token. Not saying it out this time.
Okay. Number 2 is Natasha Nurani with Ronak, and
Okay.
I'm so glad this album finally released. So she's a Pakistani electro pop artist.
Okay.
She primarily sings in Urdu, which I barely understand, but I really love the production by Talal Qureshi, which I think is like the great combo.
Cool.
Fun fact, she was actually one of the earlier vocalists of Takatak
Oh, really?
when they first started out.
Okay.
And Zen and Luke from Takatak actually worked on a video for one of her songs, which is a pretty cool video that they put out recently. So that's number 2. And number 1 is the same I had as in the mid-year picks, which is Foo Fighter, but here we are.
Okay.
I think like this album, the only reason it's number 1 is in my Spotify Wrapped. I think it's the most listened to. This album was my comfort. Like this was what you're talking about.
Awesome.
Right?
So
Like-
weirdly enough, a non-metal album is my most listened to album on my Apple Music charts this year, but it's not something that's fresh. Ever since I saw the Diljit Dosanjh set at which festival was that? Coachella.
Yeah.
At Coachella. I was tracking the Coachella things and I discovered Fortet. And Fortet Essential, whatever that album or curation that Apple has done, is my most listened to stuff of the year. Can you
Wow.
believe that? I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. But yeah, that's what it is. That's the amount of non-metal stuff I'm listening to
And
this year.
so it's crazy because like my Spotify Wrapped, and I also realized that this year all the promos, all the stuff I've listened to is all off my phone or streaming on my player and stuff like that. So I've not actually listened to it on Spotify at all. So all the stuff I'm listening to is just like stuff that's not
I
available.
think most of my music is still on Apple Music, but it surprised me like, wow, okay, Fortet and okay, cool. So anyways, the non-metal list for the year of music that's actually released in the year, Barbie the album.
I didn't even hear it, dude.
It was such a fun movie and we've been blasting it in the car so much that it's pretty much entrenched in my head. There's a fantastic cover of Crazy Town's Butterfly. Not cover, like sampled music. Whatever.
No way. Now I have
That
to check
is
it.
that honestly it's by far the craziest cover I've heard this year, or the craziest use of sample music this year. Trust me, it's going to take you for a surprise.
Okay.
I've got Dreamer now that we are here on the list too. Something we spoke about in the half year picks, Dave Lombardo's Rights of Persuasion, AEW or All Elite Wrestling or Mikey Ruckus's 30-minute single song EP called Hater Hits Hard. That's for all you people who like music when you're working out and stuff. Listen to it, it's awesome. Mirkur put out a fantastic album this year called Spine.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah, check it out. It's just like a Mirkur album, which is nice folk black metal music, but gets really heavy at times too. Then this is cheating kind of, because technically it's an OST, but it's actually Metal 2. So I'm talking about the Metalocalypse Death Clock Army of the Doomstar OST, which came out in relation with the new movie that was released this year.
I completely missed this. Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, and rounding off my list is the new album from Shakti, which is This Moment.
Did it? It's not vinyl only, right?
I Hey, it's on Apple Music,
Okay.
so I don't own it, but I have it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because I saw like a vinyl release. I thought it's a vinyl.
that was just like the Shakti high of watching them live, culminating into new music, which was great. So that's my non-metal list of sorts. But yes, the headline over there is Fortet is my most heard artist this year, which says something, right? Cool. So that's non-metal list down. Time to crank up the engine, turn it up to 11, all of that jazz. Honorable mentions. So you've got a list of honorable mentions, and then you've got 5 special mentions.
Yeah.
I've got a list of honorable mentions and 5 EPs of the year. I think that kind of rounds each other off.
Huh. So
Yeah.
let me finish mine and then you head into
Yeah,
EPs.
done.
So you start yours first.
Okay, cool. No, wait, you just said let me finish mine.
Mine with then you go to EPs. So you kick
Okay,
it off.
cool. So, all right. Okay. So, fine. Let's do honorable mentions first. This is just listing out the albums in alphabetical order. I'm pretty sure some of these are on your top 10 also. So, whatever. Let's see. Autopsy with Ashes, Organs, Blood, and Crypts. Didn't hear it. Didn't like it.
I didn't even hear it.
Oh, okay, cool. Very solid album. Better than their previous album. Very solid album. Baroness with Stone.
I didn't. I liked.
Yeah, you
couple of
weren't a
songs.
fan of it.
Yeah, I didn't like the couple of singles.
Much better album than Purple. I think that was the last
Yeah.
one.
Okay.
Much better album than Purple. Very coherent. Very firmly puts Baroness back into the like if this was released after Blue and was named a color, I think this would be the best album ever.
So this is the thing, right? I'm one of those.
It's a return to form.
I'm like one of those old Baroness fans.
Yeah, so
Like,
exactly. That's what I'm saying. So if this was released after Red and Blue, we didn't have like Green and Gold, etc. Oh no, what was that? Yellow and Green
Yeah.
and Purple. But instead had this album. This was awesome. Also, this is the first non-color,
Yeah.
unless Stone is a color. Maybe it is. Okay, then Apna Demon Stealer with Propaganda Machine.
I
Strong
have it, yeah.
album. We spoke to him at length. You can listen to that chat in our archives. Enslaved's Heimdall. Fantastic release. Again, earlier in the year.
Yeah.
We spoke about it during the half-year chat as well. Green Lungs, This Heathen Land. It's only in my honorable mentions.
I didn't even get to that, man.
Oh, really? I would have.
Yeah.
I thought this was be in your top 10.
No, I just
You'll enjoy this. Listen to it. Then there's this band which I'm butchering the pronunciation of called Hellfro, which released an album called Talgraph. They're all like weird accents and engraves and
Okay.
etc. all over this both these two names. Death metal, like pure death metal, nice death metal. Then there's another. This was a very fun listen, and I wasn't expecting it at all. It's a very divergent listen. It's called the band's name is Heil Chrysum, and the album's name is Hippie Death Cult.
I think I saw this. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's in that stoner kind of a vibe. A very fun album to listen to. Then of course this. I'm guessing you have this on your list. Horrendous.
No, dude, I didn't even get to that.
Oh, you didn't get to Horrendous?
No,
Horrendous is one of the most talked about death metal albums this year. And if you haven't got onto it, listen to it because it's awesome. The album's name is Ontological Mysterium. Then we move to Liturgy with 93696.
This I didn't hear. I didn't end up hearing.
Necropanther with Betrayal.
Yeah,
I think that was our first guest on the pod this year.
Yeah,
The still really good album. Nuclear Power Trip with Wet Ass Plutonium.
yeah. These guys are fun guys, but I don't. I think I did like. I don't know. Is it the gimmicky thing that holds me back? But I heard the singles and I liked that. I don't think I.
This was again very fun stoner doom kind of album. Obituaries, Dying of Everything.
I didn't like it at all. Dude.
Didn't like it. I thought it was pretty fun.
I don't know this. I think like it, and this is the thing, right? You'll realize with some of my picks what I was talking about in the start, right? But I don't know. I don't think I like it. Also, I didn't think I enjoyed the singles. I can't remember. There's
Okay.
something about it that.
Okay, cool. For me, it was enjoyable death metal. Okay, cool. Next up, I have Pigs, 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 Pigs.
I didn't hear this one.
Yeah, that's the artist's name. Their album was Land of Sleeper.
This is the grindcore act, right?
Mixture of genres,
Okay.
more like grindcore. There's elements of grindcore. It's not a grindcore band. Then there's an album from Pupil Slicer called Blossom, which I spoke
Yeah.
about in my half-year picks too. Spirit Adrift's Ghost at the Gallows, which was a very late edition because it just released a couple of months back, I think. Okay album, but since I was craving traditional metal, I kind of listened to it a lot. Spirit Possession of the Sign, which is making waves as one of the albums that's being featured on a lot of critics' heavy metal lists. I thought it was a strong album, but an honorable mention. I'll leave it at that. Svalbard's The Weight of the Mask, which is something I really enjoyed. We had Serena on the pod this year too. Go and check it out. And something that I've recently discovered, Woe had a brilliant album called Legacies of Frailty.
This I'm not surprised it is on your list because it's black metal.
It's again, it's not stereotypical Norwegian black metal.
Yeah.
But it is such a strong black metal album.
Yeah. I enjoyed that. But
Yeah, so those were my honorable mentions. I think I've got 18 albums there.
So
How many of these actually made it like, wow, this is like so different.
I know. And just a disclaimer, Spirit Adrift didn't make my list.
Yeah, no, the Spirit of It album, I didn't think it was like monumentally awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
At
considering it went like 2 years in a row on
Yeah,
my
right?
top, so that's
Exactly.
how high.
Yeah.
And it actually tells you how strong this year has been relatively.
Oh,
right?
definitely. Very strong in terms of music, but like traditional metal, again, not a lot of releases,
Yeah.
which is why I'm guessing the Spirit of album I listened to so much. Okay, so come on, honorable mentions.
Just give me a second.
Take us through it.
Okay. This is only so late on my list because it literally just released. Sulfuric Hatred. This is a self-titled album. It's their first album. Complete death metal assault. The person who I was very interested in and why I checked out the album is Alexander Jones from Undeath is on vocals. I want to put it for this album. It's like fucking, I don't know how to explain it. Think like Funge with like death metal vocals. That's how I would, like that entire atmosphere and all of that. I spoke about these. Actually, these are largely albums which I've not ranked. Ones I spoke about during the half year. Memorage, the self-titled album, again, new metal. If you miss all the stuff from the early 2000s, then this is totally up your alley. Burner, It All Returns to Nothing, again, very solid release. Periphery, 5, Gent Is Not a Genre, again, still held up. Couple of Indian releases round up my non-ranked. Gutslit Carnal, I think it was like a solid release from them, and considering like with the whole situation with their guitarist and stuff like that, so I think that's a great way for Pratik to kind of end off, because that's the last album he recorded and produced. And this is why I wanted to do the EPs right now, is because Riot Peddlers that made my list. And like I have to say, right, and not because we do the podcast together and stuff like that, like I totally agree, this is easily the heaviest and strongest stuff Riot Peddlers has released. And like that High Horse track, like fuck, watching it live and all was so much fun.
Thank you.
I think I have a bunch of videos also from the show, but I think like it kind of showed me that, hey, look at the kind of growth that y'all had in just like the last couple of years since y'all released the last EP itself, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I had an EP so that you can go on with EPs.
Wow. Okay, cool.
I
Cool.
mean, I have 15. If you want, I can go 5 more.
Yeah, you can go. You can do your 5 more too.
Okay, let's do 5 more. So, rounding up the ones that almost made it to the top 10 as I'm putting it.
Uh-huh.
15 Rainburn Vignettes, it's Indian prog act. Instead of like them doing their whole concept album and stuff, they kind of broke it down into shorter, poppier, relatively length songs. I really enjoyed this album because also of the sound, the way they kind of put it. It kind of sounds like you're watching them live, which I found very interesting
Okay.
in their approach that they took. So it's not very like polished relatively. Ken Mode Null and
Oh, that's not in your top 10?
no, that's what I'm telling you, right?
Okay.
This I feel really connected with me a lot more once I saw them live and just kind of like seeing that intensity that I really enjoyed. Bear Vanta again made it for the very similar reason. I mean, like watching Bear live at the NH7 Weekender at the huge stage, fuck man, it was like basically just brutality. I mean, they did a lot of crazy shit, but like it was just really intense. Some death metal more that made it to my list. Afterbirth, In But Not Off. I mean, fuck, that's a insane death metal album. I'm calling it brutally beautiful. And your friend, as I'm going to call him, Mr. Will Smith, aka Big Will, is the vocalist on this. And fuck, dude, like the guttural vocals are really good on this album. I enjoyed it. And rounding up this short list is Gridlink Coronet Juniper. I mean, they literally.
I've heard a lot about the Gridling thing, but
I mean, like as a grindcore fan, I was like fucking. I mean, they're literally putting them as grindcore royalty, right? So the fact that they released a new album and Takafumi Matsubara, fuck, their guitarist is just like, it's nuts. Like, I don't know how the fuck he's recorded some of this stuff. It's just insane. I really enjoyed this. So yeah, that's my almost made it list. Let's get into your EPs.
Okay. EPs, I'll keep it short. And this is ranked, but clearly has an agenda.
Of course.
Yeah. Coming in at number 5, Ghosts Pantomime EP. You weren't a fan. I've been a fan ever since we discussed this album on our half-year list. This was the list of covers. This was the EP of covers that they did. I really enjoyed the Iron Maiden cover. Yeah. Cancer Bats released a lovely album, which was again a covers EP. Sorry. They released it by the name of Bat Sabbath.
Okay.
It's called Masters of Duality. It features some lovely covers. Obviously, Black Sabbath covers. Spirit Box, which had a good EP this year called The Fear of Fear. I don't know, are you a Spirit Box fan?
Singles, I don't think I can do like.
Then you'll enjoy this EP because all the 4 or 5 songs that are on this are extremely different and they are almost like singles. Yeah. At number 2 is actually a single, but I would treat it as an EP because it's got 2 songs on it. Blood Incantation released a lovely piece of music called Luminescent Bridge. This I've spent a lot of time on, like a lot of time on. And honestly, I think Blood Incantation to me are by far right now my most favorite extreme metal act because they're not just one kind of extreme, right? So yes, on this one too, you have their ambient side and you have the death metal side. Perfect album, perfect release. Yeah, because it's just got 2 songs on it. And of course, the EP of the year is the Riot Peddlers High Horse.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, it had to be.
I mean, if you didn't even list them and I only did, then it would seem like...
Yeah, exactly, right? Then that would be paid branded content, but this isn't paid branded content. This is our content. Okay, cool. Time to do top 10s.
Let's do 10 to 5.
Let's do 10 to 5.
Okay.
Cool. Let's make it fun. I think we are finally beginning to warm up a bit. Reminiscing about our old days.
Chal, you got.
I go with mine?
Yeah, go.
Alright, cool. Then you go with yours for 5 to 1 first, okay?
Ha, take it.
Alright, cool. Top 10 in descending order. So, sorry. Yeah, descending order, ascending order. Descending order. Fuck it. From number 10 to number 1. At the moment, no, we're doing 10 to 5.
Huh.
Yeah, 10 to 5. Sorry. At number 10, High Spirits with Safe on the Other Side.
You put it in metal, acha.
It's heavy.
I don't
It's
know.
hard rock. It's metal, whatever. It's pop metal. That's what Professor Black likes to call it.
Didn't make my list, man.
Didn't make your list?
Didn't make
Yeah,
my
didn't even make your honorable mentions.
Yeah, didn't. I don't know.
I spent a lot of time on it because, hey, it's High Spirits.
Huh.
And much stronger the release than the previous album.
I think that was. I think I gave it a couple listens, but yeah, that was it.
Yeah, so Safe on the Other Side is pretty much like Another Night. Yeah.
Which, by the way, I finally bought again on CD.
Fantastic. Congratulations. At number 9 is something that didn't get your attention clearly. Metalocalypse or Death Clock, which released Death Album 4. Yeah. I watched that and I was listening to the album as well as the OST for like 1 week straight. It was just that good. Maybe it was because that team, Brandon Small, managed to make a show that was really good and quite a good ending to the entire epic saga of the band. And I enjoyed it so much that it was in perpetual loop for me for like a good 2 weeks, I think. Then at number 8, this is something I've talked about, but this to me remains a metal album. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard with Petro-Dragonic Apocalypse or Dawn of Eternal Night and Annihilation of Planet Earth and the beginning of Merciless Damnation. Yeah, it's not, I mean, it's coming from a band that has 23, 25, 30 other albums. Yes, they don't only play metal, they do a variety of acts, but when they do metal, they do it bloody well. This is maybe a concept album. They've got a fantastic album artwork. If you are a Godzilla fan and this year was a great year to be a Godzilla fan, then this is a perfect accompaniment for you as well. Check it out. The Gila Monster, fantastic concept album. This band does Tool better than Tool does Tool sometimes. Number 7 was Ken Mode with Void. Void really resonated with me. I think it's something that came out in our chat with Jesse when we had him on the pod this year.
Did we have Null or Void this year?
Void was this year. Null was the first one. Because Null was the absolute mindfuck of a release.
Yeah,
and Void was
my bad.
Just going deep into the void and essentially a more chilled out release, but it's not chilled out because it's Ken Mode.
Yeah. So my bad.
So Ken Mode's Void as at number 7. At number 6, surprisingly, is a band that I spoke about in my half year picks too, and I didn't know that I would spend this much time with it. Crypta with Shades of Sorrow.
Really?
Yeah. It's such a good release. Like, if you've written off the band or think it's a gimmick or whatever, then this album completely puts all of that to shame. It's good old school death metal with a lot of modern turns and twists. And what I really liked about it is the drum work that literally brings it all together and makes and gets you like pumped up right from beginning to end.
So I'm seeing a lot of similarities with our first lists in 2018 where we were like, oh, this band, oh really?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think it's been that kind of a year. Also, I must say that my top 10 is a very mainstream list.
Okay.
Yeah. What about you? Okay. What about you? What's your 10 to 5?
Okay.
Let's have at it.
So my 10 is Earn, A Feast of Sorrow.
Okay.
These guys, the British post-metal act of sorts, really dark stuff. And I think what made more headlines for them was the fact that the Gujira frontman Joe Duplantier actually produced this album. So like,
wow.
that's kind of...
Does it sound like Gojira at all?
No.
Okay.
Number 9, Majesty's Vast Reaches Unclaimed. I talked about this in my half-year pick. The melodic death metal act. I really still enjoyed this album. I think this is going to surprise you that this next pick is coming so late. Cannibal Corpse, Chaos Horrific at number 8.
I was wondering whether this album would make it to your list. I've heard this. And it bored the fuck out of me.
I mean, see, I'll be honest, right? This, to be honest, is their best Rutan. And I know they get a lot of flack for Rutan production and all of that. And the fact
it felt like a B-side to me. It felt like a B-side from their previous release.
Really?
Maybe because it had so much Rutan in it.
That probably is. And that's the thing, right?
Because the last album was very strong because it had limited Rutan. If you're saying that this one had more Rutan, then maybe that's why. Yeah, because it sounded like Cannibal Corpse wanting to evolve, but being unsure of what the evolution needs to be.
I liked this one. And actually, the next bunch of picks are mainly, this is where my death metal almost ends.
Okay.
Is number 7, Suffocation, Hymns from Apocrypha.
Yeah. And strong album, which is why I'm saying check out the Horrendous album.
And this actually, I was very keen on checking because this is the first album with the new vocalist, right? Rick Myers. And this is where like really you think that how does he even though he's been part of the band and touring live with them and stuff like that, but like how do you kind of replace someone like Frank Mullen, like the guy who's kind of fucking got that entire death metal sound. I
enjoyed it, but it's not something I spent, like I think I only heard it twice.
Yeah.
And that was it for me.
Yeah. I like number 6 again shouldn't come as a surprise, but I really was happy that this band released an album after 10 years. This is the Danish melodic metal act called Mercenary. They released soundtrack for The End, and you think like with a gap like that, what a band like them is up to, but like they've really like still stuck. I really enjoyed their sound. They even got like Matt Heafy to feature on a track.
Oh, nice.
And strange trivia, the only reason I know of this band from like back in the day is because Nolan Lewis from Cryptos was one of those people who talked about them on the forums, I think on GigPad or RSJ, and that got me to check them out.
Wow.
So yeah, like here all these years later. Did you say 5 or?
No, I stopped at 6, but you can continue.
Okay, so number 5 is Svalbard, the Weight of the Mass. So we've got at least some in common.
I like the fact that both of us have clubbed it as a metal band or as part of our metal lists.
Yeah, but I think like with a band like Svalbard, right? And like this is, for me, their sound is like the evolution really of how a band like theirs you'd want to take it, right? I mean, like, yes, there are certain songs that would be like mellower than the others, but they're still fucking dark as fuck.
Dark as fuck. Yeah.
So Svalbard is at number 5.
Superb.
This album actually moved down a few ranks for my media picks. Scar Symmetry, The Singularity 2. But it's good reason that it kind of got pushed down the ranks, because when you hear my number 1, you'll be like, what the fuck? Number 3, Dirge. So Dirge is still high
That's
up
something
there.
else that we'll have in common.
Yeah. And like I already spoke a lot about this album in July, but like I just feel that it still kind of stayed true. Which brings me to number 2, which again kind of stays in that range, which is Sermon of Golden Verse.
Okay.
And it's strange that like Sermon made my metal list, but like the band that everyone compares them to, Sleep Token, didn't even make my metal list. But hey, you have James Stewart on this album, and he fucking kills it. Like,
I
it's
haven't
insane.
heard Sermon. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
because I get the comparison. Like, I think it's the comparison with Sleep Token that has made me not want
Yeah.
to check them out.
yeah.
But since it's so high up on your list, that's what I'm going to listen tonight.
And do you want to know my number one?
Of course, I do.
Do you know why I had a sheepish look when you said you hated a certain album when we were doing our pre-talk?
I
my
don't
number
remember.
Because my number one is Tesseract, The War of Being.
Really?
I loved the album. And
Oh,
I think,
wow.
and I have a theory and a reason behind it also, right? Because during the lockdown, you had Dan Tompkins and Tesseract do a lot of the recordings or demos on
Correct.
Twitch.
Holy shit.
So-
wow.
I connected with those songs from
That
that time. And I think it also has to do because I ended up buying the stream to the Portal, the live album they did, and I was like, holy fuck. Because like, you remember what live streams were
Yeah.
like in the
Yeah,
last few
yeah.
years, and these guys took that to another level.
Okay.
And the fact that they've like released it as a DVD and all of that. But like, yeah, the War Being, when I heard the singles, I feel like, and that's where like we differ, right? Like, I feel that now Tesseract is like at a completely different level. Like, they're
Okay.
not in the same playing field as a Periphery and everyone else. They've actually now moved to a completely different
Tesseract
level.
by far for me were a league apart from Periphery and all the other gent bands.
And I feel like on this album, Dan is fucking killed. Because like, again, I remember him doing those streams live. And I think that's one of the things when I was thinking back, right? Which would make the connection. Because some of this stuff is not easy to pull off the way
Yeah.
it's kind of done.
I did listen to this album. Okay. Because I am a Tesseract fan. And I can't wait for them to perform in India, which they've already announced.
Yeah.
Right? That's awesome. Maybe it was the headspace I was in, but it didn't feel like an evolution. It felt like a continuation of what was happening on Sonder. And I didn't really enjoy Sonder a lot. Like, for me, the album that I keep revisiting is still Altered State. And I have an inkling feeling this has to do with the common factor on Sonder and The War on Being, which is Dan Tompkins. I don't know, maybe I just find Ash's voice, of course, it's a bit more amateurish, but I like that amateurish rawness.
I have to disagree. 'Cause
Yeah.
I don't like the only, actually, for me, the only guy and I actually followed him post Tesseract was Elliot. I preferred Elliot as,
For me, I've always enjoyed Ash a lot.
which makes you wonder
Wow.
what is Ash doing now.
I have no idea.
Homework.
No
post-its.
idea whatsoever. So I know Tesseract did a lot of cool stuff along with their release. They did a game or like a good use of AI, generative AI, etc. Did you do all of that as well?
Ain't nobody got time for that. I don't have time for that.
Cool. But definitely can't wait to watch them. And hopefully we'll get them on the podcast too, right? That should be an
Yeah.
manifestation.
James, if you're listening.
Yeah, right. Sorry. Yeah. But yeah, Dan, we'll still love to have you on the podcast. You can tell us, you can tell me rather why I'm wrong. All right, cool. Are you ready for my top 5?
I'm very curious.
You're
Trust
very
me.
curious? Okay. At number 5, Cattle Decapitation with Terracite.
This I expected.
Yeah.
This was
right?
from the half year.
What a fucking awesome album. Yeah. Also, we spoke with the band, etc. So do check that out in our archives. At number 4, Tomb Mold with The Enduring Spirit. Did you hear this?
Fuck. I don't even remember this album. It's amazing.
Very good death metal. The best death metal of the year for me, which is why it's so upfront. Now, I have cheated because my podium is, to me, all number ones. because these three albums are albums that I've spent the most amount of time within the year. The most amount of time. Okay, so I've actually listed them as 1A, 1B, and 1C, or rather like 111. I haven't ranked them 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you gonna say it like one by one fast?
I'm not saying it one by one fast because like one of these picks will throw you completely away, and the other two bit will be like, of course he would pick that. Okay, and two of them I'm pretty sure you can guess.
No, I'm like at this point I can't.
It's one of the bands that we had in common.
Dirge,
Dirge, right? So Dirge is like, to me it was one of my albums of the year. Those boys and that album, it's released like so early in the year and it's still been constantly repeated in my life. Like so much so I've got the last song stuck in my head and it keeps repeating and it's carved its own mind space. So hats off, boys. You've done a bloody fantastic job with this album. Yeah. So Dirge is there. The other album I have on the list is Black Braid 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that'll be that high up for you. Actually,
I heard it so much. To me, that is the better album than Black Braid 1.
But I just, like I said,
what I'm worried about now is
how he's gonna top it.
is what follows, because clearly Black Braid 1 and 2 have been written in pretty much the same time.
Yeah, that's what he told us.
Yeah, that's what he told us as well, and it shows. Like the kind of songwriting, if you really enjoyed Black Braid 1, you will definitely enjoy Black Braid 2. And plus it's got more fun elements in it because it's more relaxed. Very good black metal, not typical black metal. But yeah, that was awesome. This one's a doozy. I don't think you'll ever, this is proper, burn this podcast down. Code Orange with The Above.
Really?
I didn't think I would enjoy it this much. What's different about this time, what these kids, Code Orange kids, which became Code Orange, what they've done is they've taken their industrial sound, and I'm guessing they've been listening to a lot of Alice in Chains and Pearl Jam and Nirvana, because this is grunge metal.
I actually enjoyed them when they were Code Orange kids.
For me, Code Orange have been one of the best new metal acts. This album, honestly, if you like the 90s music, which is alternative grunge, then you will find yourself at home with this. And this is weird coming from me because I really don't enjoy a lot of Nirvana as such. I really don't enjoy a lot of Soundgarden.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Right? I like my Alice in Chains, but I'm not a grunge guy. But this one was such a nice tribute to that era that I spent so much time with it. It's got awesome songs. It even has a collaboration with Smashing Pumpkins ka Billy Corgan.
Billy Corgan.
Yeah. So my podium is Black Braid 2, Dirge is Dirge, and Code Orange with The Above. That's why I was saying mine is a completely mainstream list.
Interesting. Well, I mean, Black Braid, if you want to call them mainstream, but yeah.
Black Braid is mainstream. Nobody is going to react to Black Braid like, oh my god, cover it. I think the most KVLT name on my list is, I'm guessing, Tomb Old.
Yeah. Because they're literally two guys, I think.
Yeah.
And no one knows who the fuck they are. They go by alphabets.
Yeah. Or High Spirits, but High Spirits is also not KVLT.
Yeah, no, not really.
Not anymore. Mine is a very mainstream list. Again, it's going back to, this is the stuff that felt comfortable. This is the stuff that made me feel I'm at home.
Yeah.
I think the album that completely made me feel fully at home was the Black Braid one and the Dirge one. The Code Orange one is just the divergent pick of the entire thing. But if you haven't, give it a chance.
I will definitely.
And I'm honestly saying this. I will give the Tesseract album a chance.
No, but so just, I think that's the thing, right? I don't think all my picks from this year have anything to do with this year, right? It's always a
Yeah,
year or two
yeah,
before
yeah, yeah.
that.
I
or
agree
stuff.
with you. I think like we used to give a lot of thought to what this year means to us, and hence the kind of music we listen to. And there used to be a relation. I don't think this year's been like that.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, like it, and that's the thing, right? When I was making this list this year, I just basically went through all the stuff that I knew and I listened to the most.
How easy was it for you to do a top 10?
Not that hard.
Not that hard, right? Like,
Yeah.
I literally I created my list maybe an hour before recording this,
Yeah.
and it took me 5 minutes.
I think
Not even 5 minutes.
I think it was collation, but like ranking it was not that hard because I
Yeah.
know.
And I
what
went
it is.
purely with albums that I've heard the most.
Same.
Cool. So a very divergent pick of albums for all of you to choose from and tell us your opinions on. The addresses, etc., still remain the same. hornsupod.com. We are on X, formerly known as Twitter, at hornsupod. I'm at Asmoani.
I'm at Trend Crusher
And this was Horns Up. Don't worry, we aren't going away.
as yet.
Yeah, we haven't decided. It's just the 5th year. We'll find our love for doing this on a weekly basis again. The 7-year
Itch is
not yet happening. Don't worry. The podcast isn't going away. Yes, the frequency may reduce further. I'm pretty sure we'll come back and do what we're looking forward to. And then both of us are attending Lollapalooza.
Why not?
That's going to be something to look forward to, I guess.
Control Alt Delete is happening. So before
Oh yeah, Control Alt Delete is happening. I'm more looking forward to ranting about Lollapalooza. Stay tuned for that, guys. Horns up.
Horns up.